Indian Budget 2021. What an extraordinary transformational budget this is. Expansion in terms of the overall momentum for growth. Little changes in the indirect expenses, and overall it's a watershed budget in substance, truly reflecting the recovery on account of the COVID-19 and then augmenting sustainable growth. All sectors have been covered. Let's look at some of the highlights of this budget. Healthcare sector and manufacturing sector is very important. If you look at the healthcare sector, India has COVID-19 vaccines available. 2 COVID-19 vaccines are available, and 2 more vaccines soon. So the finance minister lays out 64,180 crores for healthcare for the next 6 years. Again, rupees 35,000 crore to be allocated for further funds for COVID-19 vaccines. More also they are ready to provide, because healthcare is the focus if it is required. The manufacturing companies needs to become integral part of the global supply chain. India is the factory for the world in terms of pharmaceuticals today. India possesses core competence, cutting-edge technology. The government has committed nearly 1.97 lakh crores over 5 years starting the year 21-22. The vehicles to undergo fitness tests after 20 years for private vehicles, 15 years for company vehicles. That's announcing the voluntary vehicle scrapping policy. This is another development. Government has committed 1.97 lakh crore for production-linked incentive schemes covering 13 sectors. 7 textile parks will be launched for the next 3 years. MSME allocation to be double. Government to set aside 15,700 crore for the year 2022, beneficial for health and manufacturing sector. These are all significant importance to healthcare and manufacturing. We need very strong infrastructure. Finance Commission also emphasized, the Planning Commission also emphasized this importance. The government has set up a development financial institutions, a development bank like, capitalized with 20,000 crores. A professionally managed development financial institutions will be introduced. The government has set an ambitious target of building infrastructure in the country, but funding these infrastructure projects would have posed a steep challenge because of the revenue constraints and the stress on the loan books of the banks. Because you cannot have long gestation period. The banks have got short-term objectives, medium-term objectives, and long-term. So to support the overall infrastructure creation, you need a development finance. National infrastructure pipeline has been expanded to 7,400 projects, huge, length and breadth of India. Further projects worth of 1.1 lakh crore have been completed under national infrastructure pipeline already. More than 13,000 kilometer roads are ordered under Bharat Mala projects. Around 3,800 kilometers have been constructed in Bharat Mala so far, and 8,500 kilometers to be awarded by March 2022. We'll complete additional 11,000 kilometers of national highway corridor by March 2022. More economic corridors are being planned because you need road, rail infrastructure. 3,500 kilometers of national highways works are ongoing in Tamil Nadu. When it comes to 2021-22, capital expenditure is seen as 5.54 lakh crore. An increase on year will provide a huge boost to infrastructure. For the year 2022, allocation for railways. Railway budget is not separate now, it's integral part of it. 110,055 crore. Focus on rail, road, infrastructure, especially economic and logistic corridors, will enhance competitiveness of Indian agriculture by lowering the cost of transportation and better connectivity between production and consumption market, mainly domestic but also global. It's important we export more and more. Aviation get a boost, gets a tax holiday for aircraft leasing business. The announcement of the addition of 100 cities to the city gas distribution network, more demand for gas from various cities due to this development. So you want to go for renewables, reduce the carbon emission, get on to gas distribution. Aviation industry is sick, again it has been fixed. Infrastructure is a must and it is an enabler for every sector including farmers. When it comes to real estate, banking and insurance, amendment in the investment and real estate infrastructure sectors for debt investors, that is very important, bond, will ease fundraising and provide the momentum to commercial real estate asset class. Very important. We don't want the real estate sectors to buckle down under pressure. Government allows 20,000 crore for banks recapitalization. Some of the banks required to comply in terms of capital adequacy, and the finance minister emphasized the need to clean up the bank's books. So you have a splitting of the reconstruction bank. You have a bad bank and a good bank is splitted, and there will be a total reorganization of the bank's balance sheets. And this will also improve the risk profile, improve the liquidity, improve the profitability in the medium and long term. Government to amend Insurance Act to allow higher FDI from 49% to 74%. That's a good development. A disinvestment and fiscal deficit. And what about NRIs? Disinvestment target to liquidate for the year 2022 1.75 lakh crore. Disinvestment receipts at rupees 1.75 lakh crore will be possible with the completion of strategic sale of PSUs, public sector units like Air India and BPCL. The government privatized 2 private sector unit banks, 1 general insurance company. Pipelines of GAIL India Limited, Indian Oil Corporations and HPCL rather will be monetized. Again, they have huge monetization plans. For the year 21, fiscal deficit of 9.5%. 9.5% is a GDP def 5%. 9.5% of the GDP will be the deficit. Fiscal deficit, that's huge. Hope to get back to fiscal consolidation. It's important that it is transformational. That's why I use the expression transformational, because you need to have deficit financing to make sure you mobilize the money and then go on. Fiscal deficit will reach below 4.5% by 2026, another 5 years' time. The government to notify rules to eliminate double taxation for NRIs and foreign retirement funds. A relief is also being looked at those who face difficulty in getting credit for taxes paid in India. So it's important. Senior citizens, startups and customs duty also looked at in totality. A budget reduces the tax burden on senior citizens above 75 years. Pensioners over 75 years of age are exempt from filing tax returns. It's a good development. The finance minister proposed extension of tax holiday for startups. Welcome. By more than 1 year. By 1 more year rather. Impetus for startup continues to be the tax holiday extended up to 31st March 2022 and capital gains exemption to 31st March 2022. There will be a solid enabler for startup funding. Very important, we need to get these startups having access to mezzanine financing or seed capital. Custom duty policy should promote domestic manufacturing, very important, for which the government is cutting duty on copper to scrap to 2.5%. Looking to bring Nylon at par with polyester. Nylon with polyester with respect to taxation, and duty on naphtha reduced to 2.5%, and they're also rationalizing customs duty on gold and silver. Government cuts import tax on gold, silver to 7.5% from 12.5%. So as a whole, if you look at it, the GDP growth has been pegged at 14.4% real growth, and we have to look at IMF has predicted 11.5%. It is possible, summing up the 2020 deficit to, again, leaps and bounds, it has to grow to come to normalcy. So tremendous amount of bold initiatives, huge deficit, extraordinary momentum in terms of growth, augmenting additional advantage in terms of debt market, financing provision, small and medium size, domestic market improvement, Atmanirbhar program, depending on the self-sustenance. That's what exactly the motive is all about, and that's the drive. If you look at the character of this budget, truly transformational, truly bold, and this will go a long way in rebuilding India after this COVID-19.